for a lot of people, they equate time spent on a task with quality.
That's an interesting idea. Yeah.
And a lot of people equate busyness with productivity.
Ooh.
And that's tough to fight against too.
So Dylan, is AI cheating?
Oh man, I love that. Yeah, you totally put me on the spot there. No, it's not cheating. But it feels like it. Sometimes it does feel like it. I think that is a comment that we get a lot from some of our coworkers or just friends or people that we talk to about this work that we do is like, isn't it just cheating, or doesn't that feel like cheating? Or questions around sort of like, are you using the technology to replace the creative work that you do? And the short answer is no. It actually just increases your creativity. It expands possibilities for you. It's a technology, it's a tool. It gives you new opportunities to explore your creativity. So it doesn't replace that. What it does replace, I think, is some of the mundane or more rote, busy work type things that you sometimes have to do, in your work or in your life in general.
Yeah. Why do you think people ask that? I mean,
yeah.
Because it feels like a shortcut. I mean, is that sort of the heart of that question? Do you think that it feels like I spent 12 hours to do this thing and you did it in 3 seconds?
Yeah, honestly, I think for a lot of people, they equate time spent on a task with quality.
That's an interesting idea. Yeah.
And a lot of people equate busyness with productivity. And that's tough to fight against too. I'm just so busy, makes people feel important. So if you can automate a task that took you 12 hours to do and do it in 30 seconds or do it on repeat or something, then all of a sudden, now my sense of my own value is no longer tied to being squirreled away in my office for 12 hours and having to say, respond to emails saying, I'm just so busy, I can't handle this.
That is a really insightful comment, Dylan. We're getting into psychology here.
Yeah, totally. Totally not qualified for that. But I mean, we all know, I'm sure we all have that to different degrees in our life too. But like, I know people, I've known people for sure that it's like that's what scratches their itch, is like the sense that I'm so important, I can't be bothered right now because I have all this work to do and it's going to take me forever to do it.
Yeah, I remember one of my internships when I was in college, I was a printing major. And so I worked for this printing company, and I was doing all kinds of stuff, learning the printing operations, but also like talking with the managers and stuff. And the sales manager one day told me, he's like, I don't care how many hours my salespeople put in. What I care about is that they meet their goals. Yeah. Because I think it was like Friday afternoon, and I'm like, where is everybody? He's like, they all left to go play golf. I'm like, are you upset about that? He's like, no, they're doing great. They're killing it. I don't care if they take, 3 hours off early on Friday, because they're producing what I asked them to produce, and even more so. And so I just wonder how much of this, there's that attitude shift of like, let's measure what matters and judge people's work based on that, not punching a clock for 40 hours, especially with content work. Because some weeks it's like slow as molasses, and some weeks it's like you get almost a year's worth of work done, it seems like.
Yeah. And it's, absolutely. So a couple of things that maybe we could explore there, but I think the like labor theory of value being tied to
How knew
your.
we'd be talking about labor theory of value.
I know. I'm totally totally in over my head. But it is so interesting that that's how we've tied our value in the workplace, in the marketplace, to that type of thing. And I think that's changing. So we can explore that.
I think remote work. We have a remote team. I wonder if that actually enhanced the speed at which we adopted this technology, because we saw it as very clearly as a way to enhance productivity, communication, synthesizing of ideas that previously might have happened in a typical workplace environment. But we didn't have that luxury. And so I think we saw a benefit to the technology that perhaps typical workplaces might still be questioning, is this a value or not?
Right. Yeah. We sort of had to do it. Like we had, it wasn't a, is this a good idea or not? It was just like, that we have to each do the work of 5 people if we are going to get through this year. Right. And so we kind of just figured it out almost like on accident, honestly. Like
seriously.
Yeah. And so, and part, the other thing I've been thinking about too, like you mentioned the comment of, sometimes it feels like you're getting a year's worth of content in a week, and other times it feels slow. And I think that's interesting too. And I for sure feel that rhythm is different now that we're using AI so heavily, is that sometimes I go into these like very deep research modes where I feel like I'm going down a lot of rabbit holes, trying to take in stuff, trying to experiment with things. It's like maybe not quite working. And so that's maybe one thing that's good for our audience to be aware of, is like, it's this phrase, like, if you don't waste hours, you will waste years, or something like that. But it's like, there's something there where sometimes it can feel like I just spent 3 hours. Like I'm not sure what I did those 3 hours, but what you are doing is you're exploring different connections. You're exploring concepts. You're trying to be creative. I mean, people who are like artists probably get this. It's like you spend 3 hours mixing paint, and then you end up throwing your canvas away and just going to get a coffee or something. I don't know. I'm not an artist, but like that's probably...
You are an artist. You're a musician. You know this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, but the relentless pursuit of productivity is sometimes counter to actual productivity. And so, like,
very well said.
This is not a factory. Most of us are doing creative work, no matter what field you're in these days. What you're doing is creative work. You're not putting widgets on the end of another widget to send to the next guy to put another widget on it. You're coming up with ideas or concepts or ad campaigns or whatever it is. And that is creative work. And I think what we're saying is, like, these AI tools have given us the ability to do creative work, one, by taking off from us some of the drudgery, like answering email kind of work, or the repetitive low interest kind of stuff that we can automate now. And so it frees up sort of that mental capacity for this creativity, which is like, what if we did this? Or what if that thing worked really cool. What if we applied it to this thing over here and did that?
I love that. And it made me think too, what we take on our team, we take things one level further than that too, where you're doing this creative work, this exploration, spelunking. And then sometimes, it feels like you're not as quote unquote productive as other days when you're just cranking stuff out. But eventually you'll arrive at some really interesting conclusion. And then what I've noticed we did, and we sort of just did this naturally, but we'll then take those findings to the rest of the team and we'll kind of systematize it in a way and say, I did this. I used this formula to achieve this in this area. I'll give you an example in a second. Here's how we here, take this and like, if you guys want to apply it to what you're doing, go run with that. So like one thing I did was I was doing some research on like psychological, the psychology of marketing and just sort of these 5 different topics 5 psychological tricks that oftentimes are used in marketing, right? And they're not even like tricks really. It's just things that grab your attention. So then what I did is I put those in just a table, and I gave examples like from my research examples, and then other fields where we can plug in more things. So like then I took that to my team and I said, if you're ever working on something for marketing and you want to just see if I can hit some of these psychological markers, like you can just plug this in here to this table. Here are some examples. And so you're sort of going on this sort of windy road, but then you will reach something interesting, and then you take that little pot of gold and you bring it back to your team, and then everybody can then benefit from that excursion that you did that maybe felt like you were off in the wild, but you're going to bring it back and make use of it.
And you can put those into these sort of permanent containers called a customized GPT that always remember that thing you learned, so you're able to even offload some of the, things you forget. Why does that work? Well, that 3 years ago, I did that deep exploration to learn why that thing worked or didn't work. I took that summary, I put it into my custom GPT, and now it remembers it every time and is working in the background to make sure I don't go down that bad road again, but I stay in sort of this good way of thinking about it. Like we do this with Hero's Journey all the time. Like we've so built in the idea of hero journey to everything we do and to all the bots that we make and create, so that hero journey is now just, it moved from top of the mind, sort of something we thought about really heavily for probably 6 months, to then it became a sort of background radiation that we remembered, to now it's just kind of part of the DNA of everything we do, has this sort of hero journey functionality to it.
That's a really great way to think about this, that I think we should think about. We should figure that out in the future. Is like you learn a concept, it goes from top of mind, and then it goes to, you're practicing it, and then you eventually want it built into the DNA of, if it works through all these things, then you have it built into the DNA of how you accomplish your work. You don't have to recall it every time, but it becomes part of how you do work. I really like that.
Yeah, and then that work, that learning becomes institutionalized for the whole, your organization. So like, say you or I are hit by a bus, our team is going to keep the things we've learned as part of their own institutional memory going forward. It's not going to be like, oh, we lost Sam.
What do we do now? Yeah.
What do we do now? Be like, oh, we'll just create a bot named Sam and...
Wait, I think I would like them to be a little sad before gone, though.
Maybe a little sad.
Yeah, then okay, good. We'll just pick up Sam's bot. Yeah.
But I think, what we're talking about, to those of you who are listening to us, is AI cheating? No, because it takes skill to know how to use it. I mean, hopefully that's what you're hearing, is like, there is a time is diminished by AI, but skill in using it has not been diminished. You still have to learn to use it. You still have to grow in your efficacy and being able to adeptly use this tool, know when and where to use it, how to use it, when to create sort of behind the scenes uses of it. and when to be explicit to external stakeholders that you're using it. There's a lot of skill. It's not just cheating.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking of an analogy like an instrument, an instrument that it's like anybody can sit down at the piano and play a couple of chords that sounds pretty because the piano is gorgeous, right? An expensive piano or whatever. But a true artist knows everything about that instrument, and has put in the reps to be able to get out of it what you want in it. Not a perfect analogy, but there's something like that.
No, there's a lot of I think Dylan, you told me one time like this was similar to when artists were complaining about synthesizers or drum beats or things like that.
Absolutely. So any kind of electronic music has always faced this problem, which is like it's not real music because
he's gone electric.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What is this? A drum machine? Yeah. But anyone who's listened to Phil Collins knows that you can make a drum machine have soul. So I think that debate is sort of over, but sometimes you do encounter people who think electronic music isn't real music. And I had the experience, I've given a few lessons to some different people, but I was giving some electronic music lessons to somebody who's really old school, and as I was showing him the interface and what it actually feels like to make music with a digital audio workstation, it's like it totally is creative, and there are all these happy accidents and things that you learn every time you do it in the same way it is that you sit down and play an acoustic instrument. So it is a different type of technology, but a guitar is a technology as well. So
yeah, exactly.
What I'm trying to say is just that you get out of it what you put in it. So you can use AI in a way that just is shallow, like we've kind of said before. But if you start playing around with it, you'll really find that there is a depth to what you can creatively accomplish that I think is it's gonna show you that it's not cheating.
Okay, lightning round. What uses of AI do you think are cheating?
I mean, I try. So yeah, that's a great question. I actually don't use the autocomplete. I turned it off for my Google Docs, like the autocomplete sentences, because I found it was like making me not think or something.
Right.
And it was making me a worse speller too, because if it's like conscientiousness, I just say con and then kind of let it do the rest. And I don't want to lose that. So I mean, that's definitely one that I don't like using that, but that's kind of just a personal preference maybe.
Yeah, similar. So I use it to sort my emails into different buckets, but I personally then respond to the email in my own language.
Yeah.
I think it's cheating when you pretend that AI is you.
Yeah. If you're not using your own voice, I think that's it. Like generating an idea for a post about a topic is one thing, or even an outline, and then you take it from there and you make some edits and you're more like the editor. But just, it would feel wrong to just totally invent something out of nothing and then put my name on it,
Yeah. Trying to think of other things. I typically don't like AI created images that are not then developed by the person. So like there's sort of a feel to them that feels kind of 1970s sci-fi cover book to them that, I don't vibe with. And it just feels like, especially like for a PowerPoint or something, I can tell you just typed in pickle
Yeah.
or whatever. And
What kind of PowerPoint has a pickle in it? I'm so
I'm just
confused.
trying to think of something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, there's like an uncanny valley for some of the images, especially if it's like just like a shallow sort of prompt with an image, it's gonna give you like a sort of creepy looking thing.
Yeah. Something I just
Pickles, sci-fi. I'm just trying to think of it.
I think it's cheating if you don't play with it, if it's not playful.
Oh, interesting.
Meaning that it's kind of like Harry Potter, like the way you treat the house elf. If you're Draco Malfoy, you know, and you're abusing your house elf versus Harry Potter, who gets to know and free the house elf. You know, kindness and playfulness go a long way with this technology that I don't know where this is going, but I think that, you know, there is this sense that you're co-creating with something that's more than just a thing. It's almost like the way you treat animals. Like, you know, the whole animal treatment kind of movement was birthed in sort of Victorian era, where people were not treating their horses well, you know, and they were abusing their horses and their domestic animals. And so these kind of animal rights people began to like advocate for humans to treat their animals better.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going far afield here, but I kind of feel like there's an analogy there that's right, that it is cheating just to sort of get productivity from the thing without treating it with some modicum of respect. And I think you and I've seen that. Like, we talk about rewarding our bots or, you know, giving them actual names that we use for them. And, you know, that's not humanization as much as it is, I think, this idea that I'm working with a tool and I respect this tool like an artist with the instrument, you know, like you name it, you care for it, you treat it with respect.
Yeah.
And it does you right in some way. That's hard to explain.
You know, forget what you think about, you know, is the AI conscious or going to become conscious, anything like that. Like it almost doesn't matter in this context, because what matters is what it's doing to you as you use it. So like anyone who's spent time around a horse knows that the horse affects how you see yourself, like when you're engaging with that horse. And so I think that is where the analogy can cross over to using these AI tools, is like, if you treat it with respect, it's going to change how it's going to change how you are, your character. And then if you're abusing it, that's going to change your character too. And it actually feels kind of icky, you know, like even if you don't say thank you or whatever, I don't know. Sometimes I'll just say, I won't say thank you. And it just bothers me. It's strange, but yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll like ask it something very bluntly or directly. Yeah. And then it'll give me the answer. I say, thanks for that. Sorry, I was being rushed. Just needed a quick answer.
Yeah, exactly.
And it'll say, I'm here to help you. No problem.
I know. I love it. Yeah. But you're right though. It's just a good practice for your own character development, you know, to just treat it with respect, like you would a very valuable tool.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.